alone. And that's something we're still tracking down. The problem the government is covering up is the boss is likely was receiving a government paycheck at the time.
Exactly. Now let's talk about a different aspect of this. Terrence Yankee, he was a first responder, somebody there very early on the scene. I believe he was actually writing a ticket and dropped the ticket to go out and service the people who were in the dire straits. Now, Mr. Yankee, his official cause of death, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, Holland, was that he slit his wrist, climbed through a barbed wire fence, and then died in a field somewhere. It's my understanding that he had, was he anemic? He had some type of issue that they didn't think that he could slit his wrist and then go and walk several yards to end his own life.
Mile. It was a mile. Yes, it was. He was anemic. You're correct, Jakari. Yes, Officer Terry Yankee was the first officer to respond to the bombed out federal building, no later than 4 minutes after the bombing. When he pulled up, the first thing he noticed was that there were several FBI agents watching what was going on in the bombed out Murrah building. He filed this away for later consultation, but FBI headquarters was at 50 Penn Place, 50th Uptown. We're at 4th Street, downtown, several miles away. Why were the FBI agents basically watching what was going down in the federal building? That is not where their office is or any of their offices are. The ATF office inside the Murrah building was, of course, empty. Terry Yankee continued on to rescue 8 lives that morning, pulling them out. Several of them credit him with saving their lives until he fell into the crater and injured his back. Until he injured himself, he was pulled out. He was recommended and was awarded the Medal of Valor for his actions that day. 1 year later, on the day he was supposed to receive his Medal of Valor, we actually witnessed his funeral. That was the day of his funeral. He had allegedly committed suicide just a couple days before, just prior to getting the Medal of Valor and leaving the Oklahoma City Police Department due to the harassment he experienced because he was talking about what he saw, asking questions. His body was found a mile from his blood-soaked car, several dozen knife wounds on his body, and the cause of expiration was a bullet wound that went upper right and exited lower left jaw. So we're supposed to think that he shot himself at a downward angle into the lower jaw, but not contacting the skin. This was ruled a suicide, yet no autopsy was performed and no ballistic test performed on the weapon. Yes, it was a sham of an investigation to cover up the murder of Terry Yankee.
Yes, that's a very awkward shot. You know, just like I believe it was Gary Webb, they said he shot himself twice in the head with a revolver. You know, just these bizarre things that they try to say that these people did to commit suicide. But we have to keep moving in here, and I want to ask you about a different topic, talking about some notes you sent me saying that the Oklahoma City bombing may be tied to a larger plot involving the CIA and even Saddam.
Yes, we are actually working on a second project, putting together material. I didn't think I was going to do that, but because we are actually now able to answer why and how it happened. With a noble lie, we just talked about basically deriding the official story, proving the government lied. And now we can actually provide some answers. It appears that the bombing operation in Oklahoma City was tied to an operation then ongoing in March of 1995 to unseat Saddam Hussein in a coup in Iraq. This is why we saw in the initial days after the bombing, even official authorities pushing the Middle Eastern connection to the bombing. That was the original script, to tie the Murrah building to Saddam Hussein, because the original plan in the CIA coup plan, which by the way was the largest operation of its kind literally since the Bay of Pigs. And I discovered this information in a bare archive of covert operations in the 1990s, the CIA's own open source history, just reciting of what they were doing in the 90s. I stumbled across this operation, the largest since the Bay of Pigs, and the plan was to pay off the Kurds in the north and the Shiites in the south of Iraq to rise up against Saddam in early 1995. This would serve, in their words, to isolate Saddam and make him basically the mayor of Baghdad. But to finish him off, we needed boots on the ground. What's the excuse? Well, Saddam supposedly getting revenge by bombing a federal building. And then now we have boots on the ground in Iraq to finish Saddam off. And because of the demonstrated ties, which me and Wendy have investigated, between the far radical right here, especially the racist right, and radical Islam in the 1990s, demonstrated by both their hatred of the U.S. government and their hatred of the Jewish people. There was often cooperation. They were going to tie the Murrah building to Saddam and also to the so-called racist far right here in this country and wrap it all up. As it was, though, like all government plans, it messed up. The Kurds couldn't cooperate. The plan was compromised. Bill Clinton would not provide air cover for the coup, and it fell apart. Parts of it went through, however, but Saddam apparently knew about it, and over 300 officers were purged from his military. As it was here in America, apparently the so-called far-right neo-Nazi angle was continually pushed because Wendy and I have investigated in the southwest of this country, people who are being interrogated, actually being approached by federal informants prior to the Oklahoma City bombing, were pitching a script saying we need to bomb a federal building with ANFO, with TOVEX boosters, which is what exactly supposedly happened according to the script in OKC. So they were pushing the script, but by the time most people realized that it was a setup, apparently McVeigh and Nichols cooperated to some degree. McVeigh himself was probably an undercover cop. We haven't proven that yet, but we're still on the track of that.
All right, that sounds very interesting. When you get that project fleshed out, we'd definitely like to have you back to speak more on it. But Holland, as our time trickles down, I want to ask you, because I believe you are a veteran yourself, and we hear a lot of talk of the demonization, especially around this time of the month of April, demonization of the veteran, of the militiamen, and of course the actions of Timothy McVeigh help to portray this negative aspect. But as a veteran yourself, what do you think about this very negative connotation, saying that, you know, if you're in the Army, you can't worship the God that you want, or once you're outside the Army, now you're a top terror threat? Do you think that's a logical perspective for our nation to take against our veterans?
And also you see the mainstream headlines now telling the military is telling veterans to maintain a low profile, not use military lingo in public, shut down their social media networks. Believe me, the military guys can take care of themselves from a personal one-on-one Al-Qaeda attack. This is to muzzle the military. When the Ron Paul campaigns happened, his #1 contributors were from the military. More than any other candidate combined, his money came from the military, active duty, people like me. I was in the Marine Corps in March of 1995. If Oklahoma City had gone down as planned, I would have been in Baghdad backing up the coup attempt. If I had taken up my recruiter's offer of recruiter's assistance after boot camp, I would have been in the Murrah building on April 19th, 1995, and that recruiter was killed. I came very close, and I saw a lot of things in the military that woke me up to the true nature of this government, and I could have re-enlisted. They begged me to. I had a stellar career, but I knew I could not serve this system my entire life and be a slave to it, and one day perhaps be used to deprive American citizens of their rights. So there are a lot of people in the military who are awake, and they're trying to demonize the military with McVeigh. McVeigh was an undercover cop. He admitted to his first 2 sets of attorneys, told them, I was recruited out of the Army to infiltrate neo-Nazi activities. What I did at Oklahoma City, I did under order. His 2 first sets of attorneys resigned when they were told that, because they knew what they were up against and they had wanted no business to do with it. So the military veterans in this country are awake. They see the true nature of their government. They can fight back. And frankly, a lot of them don't have a whole lot to lose, especially when they're coming back to a ragged economy, no future. Their wars have been declared futile, with ISIS taking over again. My unit was in Fallujah. Talking to my old friends about Fallujah being in ISIS hands right now is heartbreaking. They don't want them talking. They want to demonize them and get them out of the public discourse.
Holland Vanden Nieuwenhof is our guest. Holland, can you give us your final thoughts and also tell the viewers how they can keep up with your work?
Well, I'm working on some scripts now. My work will be coming out. Like I said, they're just in development stages. I am working on another Oklahoma City project. I guess you can connect with me on Facebook if you want to keep up with that. I'm not selling anything right now, so I really don't have any websites. I'm just researching Oklahoma City. Wendy, my co-writer on A Noble Lie, actually does have a 2-book deal with Trine Day, which I'm assisting her in research. And we're continuing the investigation. We were just out in Arizona just a couple months ago. Things got kind of hairy. And yeah, so it's fun. And you'll be hearing more from me. So thank you for having me on.
All right, thank you, Holland.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for our show tonight. Be sure to go to prisonplanet.tv and get yourself a free trial where you can see the Alex Jones Show, the nightly news, the special reports to the rants, all right there in prisonplanet.tv. Well, I'm Jakari Jackson from the INFOWARS Command Center, and we'll see you again Monday night.
used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new INFOWARSLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients, extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules. You will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at INFOWARSLife.com. That's INFOWARSLife.com or call 888-253-3139.
You are watching the InfoWars Nightly News, which airs 7 p.m. Central at InfoWarsNews.com. And your support is helping us defend liberty worldwide.